Hello, everybody. Welcome to Perspectives. I'm your host, Sam Jones. We begin today with Kyra Carby, who is the Community Genealogy Grant Coordinator, City of Tulsa. Welcome again.
Thank you. It's
good to see you.
Good to see you. It's been a while.
It has been.
It has been. I thought you banned me from the show.
No, okay. You goose. I'm going to run through a bunch of questions here. We have a lot to draw out of you to hopefully help the folks out there understand what's going on. And since I have so many questions, I'm just going to read them to you.
Okay.
Well, we've talked in the past about the gathering place as well as other public spaces in Tulsa. You're currently on the Board of Education for Tulsa Public Schools, also on staff at the City of Tulsa. Public service seems to run with you. How important is it to you? It
does. I don't think I realized how important public service was for me until recently. I've been on the board for about a year now, and I really only ran so no one would run uncontested, but I just realized how important it is for people in community to also be a part of the decisions made, to be the voices in the spaces for people who don't have a voice. And it seems to have carried over into my personal life, professional, and now in civic duty.
What motivated you to become the Community Genealogy Grant Coordinator for the city?
I thought it was important that someone take this role of navigating the Emmett Till cold case grant for the Department of Justice. And I remember when I was working at the gathering place, I was considering the position because it was offered to me. And I had a coworker say, "Isn't this a once in a lifetime opportunity?" And I was like, "Oh, you're right. Like, I have a chance to support in history and bringing people who've been lost in history return to that space." And so I took a chance, moved over to the city, and have enjoyed the last 2 years there.
Well, the second part of that question would be, what is your specific role in the investigation?
That is, so the best way to explain it is the Graves investigation lives in one section and the Emmett Till grant lives in another. And so with the Graves investigation, they exhume the remains. And with that, they send it over to to a lab to extract DNA and create profiles. And then my work picks up where I work with the genealogists to help build family trees and then to educate potential descendants to become DNA donors so that, one, we can build their family trees, but also take their DNA and compare it to the burials that we've discovered to see if they're a match. So you can work through family trees, and I educate people on family trees, but how DNA proves that point. And then also with that work, I work with the Greenwood Culture Center, and we have created a workshop for genealogy, a genealogy workshop. So there's a workbook and one-to-one with genealogists to help people figure out their own history, as well as working with the Tulsa Police Department on what they call FIG, Forensic Investigative Genetic Genealogy, and so that way that we can keep cold cases from becoming cold cases.
What's been the public response to the investigation?
It's hard to say because I think it depends on who you ask. There are some people who love the work in terms of returning people to history. I think some people are hesitant because they don't necessarily understand, how DNA is used in all of this. And then there are people just wanting to make sure that we're good stewards of both on the investigation side, city funds, and on the Emmett Till side, federal funds. I would say from a broader perspective, from the workshops itself, we've had very positive feedback and interactions with community, people understanding where they come from, being able to get over hurdles that they kind of hit roadblocks on how to find people, especially when you're working with people of color, especially African-American descent. They tend to hit roadblocks in the early 1800s, 1700s. So helping people navigate beyond enslavement and how can you track ancestors during enslavement.
Well, do you think people are actually learning about their heritage?
They really are. Honestly, there's one woman, she was doing research and she found that her family had ties to the AME, the African American Methodist Episcopal. I'm probably butchering the name. People have been able to find out if their family had been here before statehood, where their families migrated from. Sometimes with genealogy, you have to be careful because sometimes you find family surprises you weren't expecting, but people are understanding more of where they come from in this work.
It's got to be satisfying.
It is. It's a pleasure to be able to help people.
You learned about your own ancestry as well, haven't you?
I have. Fortunately enough for me, when we have the workshops, I'm able to get on a computer, and if there's some downtime, genealogists have helped me. And what I thought I knew about my mother's side of the family, I learned even more. We've been in Oklahoma before statehood. I've been able to track an ancestor who was a free black man, and during the time of the 1800s was almost unheard of. And I'm learning more each time. So I'm by no means an expert, but I think I've moved beyond beginner.
Way past beginner.
Yeah, a little past
Sounds
beginner.
like that gives greater meaning to the work you're doing now.
It does. It's just for me, and my family's not from Tulsa, so I don't have a stake in Greenwood in the way other people do, but I love to be able to be of service to community.
There are people out there that are going to want to know, do we have a time frame? How long will it take?
I would say from the city perspective of the Graves investigation, they lean on the experts to determine where the next steps and if we're going to continue excavations at Oaklawn or anywhere else within the area of interest. For the genealogical side, it could take as long as it takes. It may take months, it could take years as people are building out trees, discovering other things, and learning more about DNA donation. So there's no real clear time frame, I would say.
I would bet that somewhere along the way, there's been an aha moment for you. Could you share one with us?
For me, I think it comes from, I was in Utah. This is the most recent, I think there's several aha moments in this work. A few weeks ago, I was in Utah at Roots Tech, which is a large genealogy conference. And I was able to go to the lab and get a tour and the group that we work with there. And they were explaining that the work that's happening in Tulsa has advanced identification with DNA, not just in the state of Utah, not the state of Oklahoma, not just across the country, but across the world. Because the work we're doing in Tulsa has required a push in the technology, the organization or the companies that they work with there have been able to improve the way that they're doing. I'm not a scientist, so I can't explain it clearly, but we've improved the advancements in that technology.
What would you call success in this probe?
Success looks like, someone finding out, 7 generations back who their ancestor was. For me, for people to understand what DNA donation is and how it's used in genealogy research, but also this work is advancing, and success is the number of unidentified human remains that exist in Oklahoma at large. The more people who are becoming DNA donors improves the likelihood of restoring not just people from the race massacre, but other people that we've lost over the years back to their families and to be laid to rest.
Very intriguing journey you're on right now. Very intriguing. Have there been obstacles in matching DNA?
There have been. It's just with the number of DNA donors, we're needing more people to learn about it so they feel comfortable with having their DNA compared to the remains. And with that, and just finding viable DNA samples, because we are looking at remains that are over 100 years. But I can't go too deep into the specifics because, we work with the state archaeologists and a forensic anthropologist, and they could speak better to what those obstacles are.
It would seem to me that there have to be a lot of emotions all of a sudden bubbling to the surface. Are you recognizing such a happening? Are there emotions now coming up that weren't there before?
I think there are for a number of people, just in one, the advancements of science to be able to even identify people. The first identification, C.L. Daniel, his family that came to Tulsa for the memorial that we had in, was that November 2024, they didn't even know they were connected to the race massacre. This has been healing for some individuals of knowing where these people who were lost in history, where they now are and they can be laid to rest. For people understanding that this isn't just it's for restoration, for restorative healing, for a community. Even in the way that this grant was written, and it was written co-authored by the police department, they want to show they weren't the same police force of 1921, and that we've advanced beyond that, and there are restorative practices. Greenwood Culture Center has been able to help navigate talks between community members and the police department. But I think it's people realizing that this isn't a black-white issue, but it's a people issue.
And two, the mentality of the police department then compared to the mentality of the police department now, 360-degree change.
Let's say 180.
180?
Yeah, because 360 will put us right back where we were. And we're definitely at a 180. But yes, the police chief at TPD has been nothing but supportive, the deputy ops. We're actually creating resources for the academy when it comes to FIG, but the police department has been very supportive of this work. And I don't know, it's a different feeling. Is there work to be done on all sides? Yes, but I think Tulsa is headed in the right direction.
Final question. What questions still aren't being asked about the massacre?
I couldn't say for that. I think every day we learn something new.
It's been over 100 years.
Yeah, I think people are still wondering what's next. And I think I would say Mayor Nichols is helping to find that answer just as well as former Mayor Bynum was. If you look at the road to repair, there's looking at, what does reparative work look like? What does it look like for economic advancement for a city or an area of a city that was destroyed? But I think people are really just trying to figure out how do you, reconcile what happened in history. So I think everyone has different questions, whether you're a descendant, if you're a North Tulsa resident, or if you're a city official. I think we're all trying to figure out what those questions are.
We've only got about a minute. I want to know, in that minute, could you tell me what has surprised you most as you've watched this all unfold?
Yeah, I think what surprised me most is the teams that work on both the investigation side and the genealogy project have such reverence for the work, even though some of them aren't from Tulsa. There is a beauty in such a painful part of Tulsa's history that we're able to lay people to rest in a respectful way after the fact. It's amazing to see different community organizations come together, whether it's Justice for Greenwood, the creation of the Beyond Apology Commission for the mayor's office, and even Deep Greenwood, which is a descendant-facing organization that's helping individuals also figure out their family trees. I think it's just beautiful to see how we all can come together in something that was, a racially motivated occurrence to divide. 100 years later, I really see a lot of us coming together.
Final question. Did you ever think 10, 15 years ago that someday you might be able to dip your toes into the soothing waters of history in this part of the country?
I did not. Even 3 years ago, I never saw myself in this space that I'm in now, and I find it an honor to be able to.
But emotional too.
It's heavy sometimes. You have to learn how to take it on and off, if you will, because the work can be all-consuming, and you have to, balance that to be able to take care of yourself so you can continue the work.
We're out of time. I'm sorry for that. Will you come back and keep us posted?
Of course. Thank you for having me, and I'll be glad to come back anytime.
Delightful to have you here.
You as well, sir.
You do good work, child.
You do as well. Thank you for telling the story.
Short break. We'll be back with more right after this.